Well, hey, friends, welcome to another edition of the Thriving Christian Artist Podcast. You're in for a real treat today. Steve and Tricia Preston are here with me, who are a married couple up in Canada, both artists, musicians, illustrators, painters, environment creators, YWAMers. They're just really, really incredible people that I've had the great pleasure of just knowing and watching their journey over the last 10 years or so, and amazing to see what God is doing in their life and in their ministry. And just thought it'd be a great opportunity to come and have them, just share on the podcast about their journey and what God's doing in their life. We talk a lot in this podcast actually about how they have a real passion for creativity and how it's unlocked their heart and how God is using creativity in the process of bringing them freedom and now them to help other people bring freedom. They're even leading the School of Illustration now with YWAM out in Kona, Hawaii, and using this just creativity to bring people into freedom and into skill so that they can do the thing that God's called them to do. And a lot of that really was accelerated in their journey by reading my book, Unlocking the Heart of the Artist, when it first came out years ago. You know that in 2021, I did a 10-year update to Unlocking with a lot of great additions and reflections and updates to that book of things that I've just learned over the last 10 years. And I want to make sure that you've gotten a copy. Even if you've read Unlocking before, I want to encourage you, get this new edition. The link is right here in the show notes, and you can grab that. You can grab that on ebook. You can grab that in print version. You can grab it as well on Audible so that you can maybe listen to that in the studio. And I also want to let you know, if you've been looking for an opportunity, just an excuse to get people together, to talk about Jesus, talk about art, talk about healing and wholeness, and just all the good things that God has in your life, and you've been looking for an excuse to do that, but didn't really know how to do it, doing an Unlocking the Heart of the Artist book study is a great way to start. Just get everybody go on Amazon, grab the book, start meeting in your house. Listen, all you need is a pot of coffee or tea, a soft chair, and a listening ear, and a heart that is open to Jesus to really begin to facilitate freedom in people's lives. That's exactly what Steve and Tricia are doing in their life, and you can do the very same thing wherever you are. So I want to encourage you, grab Unlocking today and maybe start this year. It's a great time. Start a small group in your area and begin to just allow the Lord to use you in the process of unlocking the heart of artists, allowing the Holy Spirit to come in and bring healing and wholeness and vision and momentum in places where there's been fear and death and just frustration in people's lives. Listen, it will be, I promise you, it'll be one of the most fulfilling things that you've ever done. Well, my friend, I always love it when you are here with me on the podcast. Please make sure to subscribe. Please make sure to leave a review. Please make sure, if you're listening on YouTube, to hit the like button and to leave a comment. Share it on social media. We want to do everything we can to get this podcast and this message of thriving as the artists that God's called us to be out to as many people as possible all over the world. This army of artists that God's raising up is not just about something I'm doing. It's something that we're all a part of. We're all a part of this massive global movement that God is raising up all over the world, that his glory would be known, that our hearts would be free, that people would come to know the saving knowledge of Jesus and the fullness of life in the Spirit with him as his sons and daughters. So do everything you can to help me get this message out. I love you, my friend. Thanks for listening, and I'm going to get out of the way. Here's my friends, Steve and Tricia Preston. Well, hey, my friends, I'm so glad that you are with me on the podcast today. I've got two incredible folks that I have known for a long time that are doing some awesome things in the kingdom. The Prestons are here from Canada, and we are so glad that you're here, guys. Welcome.
Thanks,
you.
Matt.
It's great to be on your podcast.
So much fun.
Yeah.
I know it. I know it. We were just talking about how far our journey goes back in the Unlocking the Heart of the Artist world. I think you guys were involved in probably the first Unlocking course that we did, like before we even knew how to do courses.
Back in the day. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, it's been fun. Yeah, I think we went, the first time we went to your gathering of the artisans was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, isn't that something? It's just, it's crazy to see what the Lord's done. So, well, listen, you guys have an awesome story. I'm so excited to have you on today. So take a moment, introduce yourself, kind of who you are, where you're from, what you do creatively, and then we'll kind of jump into a little bit of your backstory.
Okay. Go ahead, Steve.
All right. Well, Steve and Tricia Preston. We live in Stratford, Ontario, Canada. Justin Bieber's hometown, Stratford. So
there you go. What else?
We got some connections. So actually, his family went to our church actually back in the days. So so he's a homeboy here. We do a creative business called Fantastical Studios, and also serve at our church as children family pastors, and just really love to bring creativity, bringing the whole dynamic of how God has created each person to live that out in such a creative way and unashamedly just put it out there and let God do what he wants to do with your expressions. So
yeah. And I'm Trish. I'm his wife, as he's said. And I just love creativity. I love to create. And it's been a journey for me to discover, because I never knew I was creative growing up. So it's been a really fun journey to discover what God has put inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So many people, grew up as artists or wanted to be artists and that sort of thing. So Trish, when did that kind of awaken in you?
You know what? And not until I actually gave my heart to the Lord. As a kid, I had, I would draw, I'd paint a little. I always was what they would say would, drum to a different beat. But that wasn't always looked on as a good thing, right? To me, it was like, oh, that's not good. You're not really doing the things that normal people would do per se. And I always had different ideas. I was a kid that was always redesigning my room like every month. I got to change the furniture around. I got to do this. And I try and 50 outfits a day until I could mix and match the right outfit. And so the creativity was always there. I just didn't see it as creativity. I just was like, this is just what I do. And when I became a Christian, the first thing the Lord had me do was pick up some paints and start painting. And when I did that, it was like I was given this gift, and it was so exciting. I'd literally go to bed painting, wake up the next morning with butterflies in my stomach because I couldn't wait to paint again.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I think for so many believers and prior to coming to the Lord, there's all of this, as you guys well know, and I know, there's all of this belief and fear and anxiety around, I'm not like everybody else, or I'm not doing life like everybody else, or I don't look like everybody else. And that really, really, really can shut people down. And I think it's just beautiful how the Lord can use an intuitive process like painting to just say, you know what, I just want you to be who I've created you to be. And in the middle of that freedom, that's where you start to really understand his presence and connection with him. Did you realize that was a God connection as far as the painting and his presence and that sort of thing early on, or were you just like, oh my gosh, this is just something fun to do, and I'm also got to know the Lord as well? Was it kind of separate?
No, I think I realized it was God that was really connecting with me when that happened. There was just some incidences where one lady, she invited me to her home. I didn't know her well, and she had all kinds of paints, and it was fabric painting. It was in South Africa, and that was a big thing then. And she just let me use all of her stuff. She's like, here, just do this. And that was the beginning. So he was really opening doors where he was just handing me paints and different materials through others. And even just before I gave my heart, I'd been living in Paris, France, and I was going through the churches, which are beautiful, and they have beautiful murals all over them. And I would stand in front of these murals, and I'd see all these paintings of biblical scenes, and I'd stand there crying, and I didn't know why I was crying, but Jesus was becoming so real to me in those moments, because it was that visual picture of him, and he was just drawing me through that. So I think I recognized that God was, stirring that in me, and that he was there in the midst of all that. Yeah.
I love that. Now, Steve, your journey, you're a musician. I don't know if I would say primarily, but that's a big expression of your life and that sort of thing. How did that start for you as a young kid or later in life? Or
totally as a young kid. It's funny because my dad is a pastor, and so I'm a PK and preacher's kid, for those of you who don't know what that is. And we were just always doing music. My dad plays the piano by ear. Is actually incredibly good at it. And they got us into music at a young age, and started on piano, moved to violin, which is where I ended up doing most of my training, and then just picked up bass by ear and guitar on my own, and I just kind of went with it. I've loved playing. Got involved in different bands and playing in different bands. A few of those have received up in Canada. We have the Gospel Music Association of Canada, and so we have Covenant Awards up here instead of Dove Awards. And we've had numerous nominations for Covenant Awards up here through those bands, and it's been a fun journey for me. Worship leading all the time. That's just a part of who I am and what God has given me to do creatively and expressively, in offering that to Him. Actually, it was kind of interesting. We do a house of prayer at our church. Mm-hmm. And not a lot of people come out. It's during the day, so the daytime hours, there's not as many people. But there's one day, I think we have maybe 2 or 3 people there, and I was doing worship for that. And I just felt such a delight, the delight of the Lord in just being able to play for Him. It was almost...
With no agenda, right? Just
that's exactly it. It was actually very overwhelming, and just this sense of, wow, I get to play for the King. I get to play for the King, right? It doesn't matter if I have like 100 people or 200 people or 1,000 people, right? I get to play for the King, right? It was like, whoa, this is cool.
I can totally relate to that, because I remember back in, I guess, 99, I had come out of the Methodist church and was, my mom had been a Methodist choir director and all this. So I grew up in totally traditional church, but ended up at Brownsville at the revival down there in the mid 1990s. And then ended up leaving the Methodist church and, started leading worship at a church that was really experiencing a major move of God. And our pastor was really good friends with Mike Bickle, who had just started IHOP back 99, 2000, right in there. And so we were just getting I remember early on, we had, imagine this in one weekend, we had Julie Meyer, Rita Springer, and Jason Upton in one weekend. I'm like, wow, are you kidding me?
That's awesome.
Of the years ago. But it was like, we were learning this whole idea of what we talk about now, ministering to the Lord, and I think the word that they coined in Toronto, soaking in His presence, and just really giving our heart in that process. And I remember for me too, it really transformed my understanding of art and creativity from performance to really this opportunity not only to offer something to the Lord, but also to create with Him, to sing with Him, to create with Him. Yeah. And that was really transformational. I'm interested for both of you, did you start to come into the Spirit in your creativity once you were married, or when you met, or was that something that's happened later in your life? Because I know both of you have a real passion for not only the creative process, but also the healing and all that happens in that process with people.
Yeah. Well, when I met Steve, it's so funny because I was thinking about this morning. I'm like, when I met him, all I saw that he was very musical and I was not. And so I was like, how is this ever going to work? Right, we felt God was telling us to get married. And I was like, how is this going to work? And when we got married, we both had already been operating in our gifts, but different gift sets. But when we got married, it was like God just grafted everything together. And what I saw is we have such a common ground of creativity and how the Lord was just bringing that together, and how, I've tried to do things without Steve in business, and he's tried to do things without me, and it's not the same. We work together. That's just the way He's really made it for us, is to be a partnership in our creativity. So, Now,
as you guys serve in ministry together, I know creativity is a big part of what you guys are doing together. Talk about how the Lord uses the creative process in healing and the restoration of people, because we know that that's a place for all of us, where the walls come down, where the eyes and ears of our heart are awakened and attuned, I think, more to the Holy Spirit sometimes than others. What are you guys seeing, and what have you seen as you minister together in the context of creativity?
Yeah, do you want to speak?
I would say, it's kind of interesting. So during this whole COVID season, I've probably seen it more so now than I think I've ever seen, actually. We had to shift a lot of stuff here in Canada. We've had some pretty significant lockdowns. Sure. We're in another one right now even. And so just the dynamic, we had to stop doing kids church. And it's like, what are we going to do? And so we started doing online kids church and just making our own little show, right? And that whole dynamic and part of what we do is just we try to bring a lot of fun and a lot of joy and happiness into what we do for the kids, right? Silly is big. I'm a kid at heart. I just love to make the kids laugh and smile, right? But you can do that in a way that's just creative and have fun with it, and the kids just respond to it. And it's funny because there's a dynamic. The creativity actually creates relationship with them, right? And it gives you a chance to connect with them. It gives you a chance to speak into their lives and to share God's goodness with them, right? I'm so big on that dynamic of what we create conveys the heart of God, right?
And it does bring healing to people.
Oh, totally. And whether it's through music, whether it's through drawing, whether it's through painting, whether it's through dance, movement, whatever avenue it is, it's like God takes that and it's like he takes it and multiplies it, and it's like your first fruits, and then he just grows them, right? Yeah. You sow those, and he takes it and produces fruit out of them. It's amazing to see, actually.
So what I felt he did during this season was we got really creative when we got locked down. And
you had to.
We had to. You're right.
But it was really fun. So we have a property here, and what started stirring in me was something new. It was like, let's make these amazing scenes outside that are really quirky, really creative, really different. Okay, so I'd spend all morning putting together these scenes, and I kind of had to drag Steve into it first because he's like, this sounds like work. Because I'd get these ideas, and I was like, you know what? You might get an extravagant idea, but I was like, no, let's not dismay it. Let's see how we can do it.
She'd be like, can you drag the kitchen table out to the yard? Stuff like that.
Hang some chandeliers from the trees. Let's get the curtains out there. And we started making these really fun, quirky scenes that were just kind of nonsensical and just full of joy. And we started getting this following, a greater social media following. And it was amazing. I had no idea how much it was impacting people. And then when we go out, people are like, I love your post. I needed that laugh today. I needed some joy today. Especially through the lockdowns, it's like, I needed this morning. So that was really cool how God was just stirring that in through us. And it was just fun. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
I just love that, though, because I think so many times, especially for people who are doing their art as a business, which a lot of us are, and that sort of thing, we all forget. It's so easy to forget, I guess, sometimes, that we need a demonstration of creativity. We need art that is not for sale. We need art that just brings joy. We need art that just opens the door and awakens our heart. We need art that breaks our heart and causes us to cry and opens us to the things of the Lord. And I love that you guys are finding a rhythm in that, in the context of ministry, because you are doing things in a commercial way with, some of the other projects that you're doing, but in the context of ministry, you've got this beautiful place to express yourself and bring people into that context in a healing way. I just love that.
The other factor about it too is actually, it actually creates community in so many ways, right? It's God has really blessed us with just a gorgeous property here in just outside of Stratford, and people come and they hang out. And Tricia's really good at just putting these like whimsical things all over the land, and like fun signs and things hanging from the trees and all sorts of things like that, right? But people come and they engage. The kids come, they play, they have fun with what's going on. The parents hang around the campfire, and we just talk. It reminds me a little bit of when we did gathering at your place around the campfire, right? And just this dynamic of cultivating community through the creativity as well, right? It's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I know one of the communities that's important to you guys is the YWAM community.
Yes.
And Youth with a Mission, for those of you who don't maybe know that acronym. But when did YWAM enter your life, and how has that morphed into its own big part of your life now?
Yeah. Well, I did, before I married Steve, I did YWAM in Mauritius. I did my discipleship training school there. And the theme was evangelism, and we had to go on our outreach. And it was interesting because every one of us, we were a team of 6, every one of us was artistic.
Oh, wow.
And so a lot of what we did on our outreach was we went into hospitals that were in Madagascar, very poor, dirty, and we did murals in the recovery rooms.
Oh, wow.
And we did so many murals in different places. We went into schools, we went into other YWAM bases, and it was very interesting. So we stayed connected with YWAM. We did some mission trips here and there over the years. And then a couple of years ago, we felt the Lord was calling us to Hawaii to do the School of Illustration for further training, which was amazing. Amazing experience for our whole family. It's such an amazing spot to be. And then we felt like he was calling us further into staffing and leading there. And so that's where we are today. We're excited because it's such a great spot for people to come and to be raised up and gain skill, and also at the same time grow in the Lord. So you got the two, you got his spirit, and you're doing skill, marrying together, and doing missions in art for him. So.
Yeah. It's kind of a
those
unique
folks
dynamic.
that don't know, that's not a weekend. That's a 3-month investment of time when they go to the School of Illustration, right?
That's right. And with potential if they wanted to do internship after as well. Yeah.
It wouldn't be very hard for people to feel the Lord in Hawaii, right? I'm really sensitive.
No.
Called to Hawaii.
In the name of Jesus.
I know, right? I'm a missionary called to Hawaii.
It's such an awesome spot, though. Just the whole spirit of creativity, of community that's developed there is amazing, and just it's been saturated in the prayers and the worship of the people there over the years, right? So it's just such a it touches our heart in a very special way. So.
Yeah, I think there are a few organizations. I mean, you think about, Billy Graham, you think about YWAM, you think about the legacy that YWAM has had over the years and will continue to have, because it's so kingdom based. And I love that they've always embraced the idea that creativity is not only a mode of worship, but also a door opener for people's hearts. That it's a great way to, just like you said, whether you're doing murals in a hospital ward, or you're using the drama and theater in the streets and street evangelism, or somewhere in between, it's really embracing that. I even think back like the Salvation Army movement, those guys.
Yeah, totally.
I got to speak, I've spoken actually at their Eastern big convocation and their Western one to all the artists. And I'm not a part of that movement, so I didn't know, but I was like, oh my gosh, like the Salvation Army is huge.
Yeah.
They have these art schools and all this kind of stuff. Wow. It's huge. I'm just like, there's so many great organizations like YWAM that are doing that. And I think that I'm so glad that you guys are involved there as well and invited me to come speak. I'm so excited.
Awesome.
Just bringing the message of unlocking the heart of the artist and freedom. And I think for all of us, and especially Christians, I think we need to realize that our art is not about performance, but it's this relationship with the Holy Spirit. And
that's right.
I know that's y'all's heart too, that it's not just about, building skill, but it's this, filled and skilled, as we talk about,
totally.
This freedom in the Lord. What have you seen in the context of YWAM, just as maybe students from all over the world come, they've never even heard that kind of thing before, but they start walking in the freedom that God's called them to.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's exciting to see when someone starts walking in that, or they didn't know what was inside of them and they start discovering that, or just through the years, there's been so many students that have come through. Just talking to the previous leader that led so many years, Karen, And just, I think there's been so many stories where people, they've launched into art. They've launched into more mission-minded with their art since the school, and in healing that's happened to them in that. In 3 months, a lot can happen, and it does.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's amazing, actually. You know, the other dynamic that comes to mind is you know, at the School of Illustration, we often talked about how the arts are like the tip of the spear, right? That God uses to cut through. And it always amazes me how God can use something that you don't even need to say something, you know, like Trish, for example, being in the cathedrals and seeing the paintings, and God is just speaking through them and pouring his spirit through those things, right? My art teacher in high school, actually, is a great example of that too. He does these wire sculptures, just it's like Dr. Seuss meets Leonardo da Vinci kind of thing, right? They're just amazing. But, you know, you go to, like, you know, outdoor art exhibitions in Toronto, and they're mechanical. You turn them, right, and everything moves around. And guys, he had one guy come up to him. It's like, "What is this? Does this thing work?" And they're called prayer machines, is what he calls them. And he's like, "Does this work?" And he's like, "Yeah, you just turn the wheel." And he's like, "No, does prayer work?" Right? And he just has this great opportunity to just go into sharing the gospel with this guy, and he didn't even need to ask him a question. He just presented his art, and the art spoke to him, and God used that to draw the questions and ask the questions, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why Jesus spoke in parables, right? Because he knew the creativity sparks the question, sparks the curiosity. And it's almost like this dynamic of the arts are so filled with salt, right? And they just make you thirsty and wanting more and wanting more. It's like, oh, I got to get more of that, right?
And you don't even know why, right? It's just
that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And the opportunities that can come as you share what God is putting you creatively it's absolutely amazing. Even to the dynamic. We did a mission trip one time in Nashville, and we were just doing some stuff with the homeless people down in downtown Nashville, and we had our kids had done some drawings. And basically, they were just passing these drawings out to some of the homeless people. And they were like, "Can I have one? Can I have one?" And the one lady in particular, I'll never forget it. Her daughter, she said, "Can you draw me a picture of a duck?" Yeah. Right? And so she drew this picture of this duck for this lady. And it was like, that's the last thing I did with my daughter. And it was just such a moment for God to just break into her heart and just say, "Hey, we see you, we see you, we see you. You have value, right?" So yeah, there's all sorts of stories and like that. But
I love just the simplicity of response is like so many times, you know, we're trying to figure out how can my work be more prophetic, be more this, and it's like, listen, just get in the studio, do the thing that you love to do, trust Holy Spirit's there with you and in the middle of it, and release it to Him. And it's, you know, the fruit is up to the Lord. And
that's right.
I think that freedom, you know, obviously with expectation and belief that God's going to use whatever it is that you do, but the simplicity of a duck. I mean, how spiritual is a duck? I mean, come on. But, you know, how spiritual were 5 loaves and 2 fishes? You know, they weren't. But in the hands of Jesus, you know, they're transformative. And I think that's where, you know, I just love the simplicity of that. So, guys, you're doing it. You're living a beautiful kingdom life and enjoying it and bringing others along the way. And I don't know any other way to live life and to do that. And so, just love seeing all that you guys are doing. I know that folks are going to want to continue to connect with you online and on all the socials, as we say. So where's the best place that folks can connect with you and find out more about what's going on with you guys?
Yeah, we have probably on Fantastical Studios. So it's FUN, Fantastical. It's all one word.com.
Love that.
And you can follow us on social media, Fantastical Studios on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We've got Fantastical Studios there. You can also follow the School of Illustration on Facebook as well.
And Instagram
as well. And if you want, we're going to be posting just photos of what's going on at the school this quarter. And you can follow us there as well.
Nice. And I'll be suffering for Jesus in February. So I'll be there taking one for the kingdom. But
good for you.
It'll be awesome.
Awesome. Well, Stephen and Tricia Preston, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. Awesome.
Thank you so much. All right. Take care.